Welcome back to the vlog. This is an interesting session. It was a very long session for me. Played for about 7 hours, struggled basically all day long. Finally got a good pot going my direction, and the very next hand, I decided to punt it all away. Well, not all of it, most of it. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. All right, we're back at Capital Casino looking to play a little 1-3 Texas Hold'em. Buying for $500. The games have been very good lately, and so has been the action. In fact, there was one table with a 1-3 game. Get this, a 1-3 game with over $20,000 on the table, and several stacks of 3,000 plus. So, yeah, it's a 1-3 game, but it is playing a whole lot bigger. The very first hand when we sit down in the cutoff, we have 2 jacks, and there was a open to 8, 2 callers for the 8, and I decided to make it 45. I figured this would get out those weak hands and maybe get it heads up. We do get a caller, but the caller came from the small blind, and he has a rather short stack of around $100. He puts in the call, everyone else folds out, so I'm just looking for a decent flop. Put some cards up there below a jack, and I'm just going to go ahead and get him all in. So we're heads up. There's 114 in the pot, and he has maybe, I don't know, $55, $60 left. Flop comes 9 high. He checks. I jam. He snap calls with King Jack of clubs. And of course, King comes on the turn, and just to make it even worse, a club comes on the river. Not the start we were looking for, but it's the start we got. After being card dead for quite some time, we do pick up ace, queen of hearts in the small blind. There were 3 limpers. I raised to 25. Only get 1 caller for the 25. And this player seems to be extremely active and is going to be the target of many of hands later in the episode. Anyway, he puts in the call, and we go see a flop, which comes King 8-8 with 2 spades. So we flop nothing, but if he doesn't have a king or an 8, it's going to be hard for him to continue unless he has some sort of flush draw. I put out a small continuation bet, and he quickly folds, so we win our first pot of the day. There's 1 limp in front of me, and I look down at 7-8 suited. I've been card dead for quite a while, and 7-8 suited is starting to look like a premium, so I open for a race of 15. It's a little bit loose, but oh well. I got a player calling from behind, and it gets to the player on the button, and he really likes his hands. He put in a raise to 50. I'm thinking to be doing this with hands like ace king, ace queen, and big pocket pairs. I don't think he'll be doing it with much less than that. So in my mind, I think 7-8 suited performs well against that range. If I flop something in my range, I think I can probably double up through a big pocket pair. So I put in the other $35, and we're going to end up going heads up to the flop after the other player folds out. Now I'm really looking forward to seeing a flop that smashes my cards, and what I get is ace queen 6. There is 1 club, so I have a backdoor flush draw, and the 6 gives me a backdoor straight draw. I check it over with the intention of folding to any bet. And as he starts to put out his bet, it looks like he really didn't like to do that. He seemed like he was afraid of the ace. So I'm thinking he has kings or maybe jacks. And I decided to go for a little check raise just to test him out there. He quickly folds pocket kings face up. So we get this one through, and we add a little bit to our stack. Hey, just a reminder, we're having our meetup game down at Hustler Casino on the 19th from 1 to 7 p.m. It's going to be a 2-3 no limit game with a buy-in between $100 and $500. Of course, there's going to be Fish Poker, Andrew Locke, Happy Face Holdem, Think Blue Poker, and myself will be there. Really looking forward to meeting some of you that I haven't met before and playing a little poker with you. So hope to see you down there on March 19th. All right, there's a couple lippers in front of me. I look down at king queen suited, decide to raise to 20. End up getting 3 other callers for the 20. So we're going to go 4 ways to this flop with some $81 in the pot. So going multi-way to a flop, and it comes out ace, ace, 8. with one club. So not ideal. I think it's prudent to maybe slow down here. With three other players in the pot, it's quite possible I'm up against an ace. Anyway, it gets checked around, so I really like that. And the turn card comes as a jack of clubs, so we pick up a lot of equity. And I figure if no one has an ace here, I can definitely represent one because there are occasions that I would check back a strong ace in this situation on such a dry flop. So I decided to leave for $40. I get a call from the action player behind me, and he's been very active. And I'm thinking, at best, he's going to have a jack, maybe some sort of weak jack. River card comes, I brick out, and I'm thinking, can I get him to fold weak jack? And, it's probably silly for me to attempt this, but I decided to give it a shot. So I bet 3/4 pot, $120, and he just calls me as fast as you can. And I go, yeah, you're good. I missed everything. And he turned over queen jack offsuit. So note to self, do not bluff calling stations. Again, we're card dead for quite some time before looking down at 4 or 5 suited, and it is a straddle pot to 6. I'm trying to make it 20, but I had a dirty stack, and so it only was raised to 16. Ended up getting 4 callers for the 16. So we're going to go 5 ways to this flop. So with $81 in the pot, we're going to see a flop of King 8 Queen, all clubs, which is very good because we have 2 clubs and there's 3 of them up on the board. That means we made a flush. So what to do now? I mean, there's 2 arguments. One is to bet big and protect your 4 or 5 of clubs. The other one is just to do your standard bet, your down bet on a monotone board, and that's what I decided to do. I get 1 caller from the action player. Now, this player has been involved in just about every hand and could have just about anything. And knowing that, I'm very happy that he's calling. I figure he's going to call me down with just, 1 pair. Turn card is a horrible card. Of course, it's a jack of clubs. So if he was drawn to the flush, we're basically dead. I checked it over to him, and he just grabbed a big handful of chips and slams them in the pot. And I've been watching him for the last, 4 or 5 hours, and this is a bluff every single time. And I just feel like he doesn't have it. He just can't have it. If he had a big club, would he really overbet like that? No. So I'm going, he's bluffing. I got to put in the crying call with this. So I put in the crying call. I have like $6 left. The 5 of hearts rolls off on the end. I check it over to him. He doesn't even want to bet for my last $6. He checks it back. Dealer tells me he has to show, and he turns over queen of spades, 7 of clubs. So we lose to his bluff, basically, which was the 7 of clubs in his hand. Oh man, this one just stings because I think my read was dead on that he was bluffing. It just happens that we couldn't beat his bluff, and so we lose this big pot. We grab an extra $500 and go on to the next hand. So I'm in for 1,000. I won a couple small pots since buying 500, and I'm up to about $600 here. There were 2 limpers, and a player in the cutoff decides to raise to $20. With ace king in the small blind, I'm going to put it in the 3-bet. So I make it $80. My opponent in the cutoff only has about 160 in his stack at this point, so I kind of want to get him committed to this. If I raise too big, he might fold out. I think he probably has a hand like a ace queen or ace jack type of hand. Everyone else folds out. He decides to go ahead and put in the call for another $60. So we're going to go heads up to a flop, and basically I'm just going to be jamming on just about any flop here. I think I got ace king. I'm just going to go with it. So when the flop comes out 9-8-5, I put in enough to put them all in. He doesn't think too long before sticking it in. I ask him if he has a pair. He says no. And I said, I got ace high. And then the turn card was the ace of clubs. So I rolled it over. He says, yeah, you're good. And we take down this pot and get a little bit closer to getting even. This hand, I pick up ace jack offsuit, raise to 15. Get a bunch of callers like normal. This table has been playing with 4 or 5 callers on just about every single hand. Flop comes out ace, 9, 7, rainbow, and it's check to me. I decided to check this one. I like to put some hands that are fairly strong in my checking range, even when it's multi-way, just to protect my checking range. The player behind me puts out a small bet for $25. He gets one call from the action player, and then I figure, well, I'm definitely going to be calling here. So I put in the call for the 25, and we're going to go 3 ways to a turn card, which is a beautiful Jack of Hearts. Now, I think this is an easy check raise opportunity, so I check it over to him. It doesn't take him long before he puts out a bet for $80. I was really hoping the action player would put in the call because I'm after some of his chips. He got too many of mine already. But he ends up folding, and I decided to go ahead and raise. I think I went a little bit too big here. I decided to raise, and I made it $260, which is 180 more than his bet. Yeah, it's probably too much. I'm thinking maybe if I raise to like 140 more than his bet. So anyway, he says, oh, I guess my ace is no good, and he mucks it. I wish I was able to extract a little more value from this hand, but it is what it is. So I stack the chips, and I'm getting closer and closer to getting even at this point. It's been about 6 hours into the session so far. There is a $6 straddle, and the player opens to 40, and I'm putting him on a very big pair. He has a good size stack. I have about 900 in mine, and I figure this would be a good time to go set mining on the button with pocket sevens. So I put in the call for the 40, and we get 2 other callers, and one of them is from the action player who has been, as I said, playing just about every hand. So we're going to end up going 4 ways to this flop with $164 in the pot. And the flop comes out ace, 7, 4, all diamonds. So flop middle set, great. 3 to a flush on board, not so great. Action player leading into me or into the field for $80. I'm okay with that. I mean, he's the action player. He could have a flush. He could have an ace. He could have, 5, 6. Who knows what he can have? He is betting a lot of hands. So when the other player folds out, I put in the call. The player in the big blind thinks for quite some time before he decides to let go of his hand. So we're going to be heads up with the action player. And we got middle set, which is great. Turn card comes, 8 of clubs. Well, now that 5, 6 got there. Still, I'm mostly afraid of a flush, but I have position on him, so I'm going to let him continue, and he does. He bets $100, and I don't think I have anything else to do here but put in the calls, so I do. And we see a 5 of hearts on the river. So now any 6 makes a straight. The flush is still the main concern, but I already decided I was going to be calling as long as the diamond doesn't hit the end. And he thinks for a little bit before placing a bet of 175. Again, I don't think I have too much of a choice here. I'm going to be forced to call. With my luck, he probably backdoor something with a 6 of clubs in his hand, but who knows. I put in the call. He rolls over pocket 9s with the 9 of diamonds. So he had some equity, but we finally beat the action player out of a pot. And it was for $874, which gets us even. And actually, we're like $400 ahead at this point, which is great. So I start stacking my chips, and then this hand happened. It was open for 16, called for 16. A player raises to 80. I'm in the cutoff with 2 kings now. I decided to flat the 80. The reason I did, I figured the person who made it 80, he either had a big pocket pair or a hand like ace, king, ace, queen. I decided this to smooth call in position, and I had great plans on how to play this post flop. And then the small blind raises to 250. Now, he has about $850 in his stack. Could this player have aces? You betcha. Does he? Probably. But Earlier in the session, someone asked how my day went the previous day, and I told the story about how I had kings and queens twice, and both times I ran into aces. And I made the statement that every time someone four bets me now, I'm just going to end up folding. And I'm not sure whether this player was at the table at the time that conversation happened, but that was in the back of my mind. And I was thinking, how often am I going to run into aces this week? I mean, it's just silly. So I'm going, does he really have it? Or is he making a play on me? Is this player capable of making a play? Yes. But with an $850 stack, I'm not sure that he would. I mean, some players would definitely make a play no matter what size stack they have. Him, I kind of think is a little bit more conservative. So I'm thinking of a fold. And then I kept going back in my mind saying, okay, you can't be scared of everything. I mean, this guy, yeah, he could have aces, but he could have something else. I mean, the game was very active. Does he have to have it? No. So anyway, I talked myself into calling. And my thought was, okay, maybe I can spike a king and get the rest in. He would have about 600 behind. Was it the right choice? I don't think so. I didn't think so at the time. But I go, man, my luck has got to change here. I mean, I've been running into like big hands left and right every time I picked up big cards. Flop comes six high. He's in the small blind. He jams for his $596 or so. And I'm just sitting there saying, God, is this happening again? I should just fold this. I should just fold this. Zeus would say to fold it. I throw in the chip. He rolls over. You guessed it. Two aces. We brick out, and I just punted off a bunch of money that I didn't have to. So after you make a big punt, this always happens. You pick up another quality hand in an action game where everybody's calling everything, and you're in the big blind, and you got a bunch of limpers, and you put in a raise with your ace king suited, and everybody folds. Very frustrating. All right, a player opens for $10 and he gets four callers for the $10. And I look down at king queen suited on the button. And I'm still a little bit upset with my last play. So I decided I'm going to raise to 75 and try to isolate this or take it down right now. And instead of isolating, I get a call from the player behind me in the small blind. I get a call from the action player for $75. And it goes back around to the initial raiser for $10. And he just decides to jam his stack, which is only $146, but it's the perfect amount to reopen the betting. The other $10 callers all fold out. And here, I think it's a clear re-raise situation. The only person I'm really worried about is the person in the small blind who cold called my 75 to start with. They could have a hand like ace queen. If they had ace king, I think they would repop it. If they had a bigger pair, I thought they would repop it. So I'm worried that they might have ace queen and decide to call off because they think I'm tilted, which I'm not fully tilted, but I'm leaning one way a little bit harder than the other. Anyway, so I go all in for about 450 more, and the other two players end up folding out, which is a great situation. There's a lot of dead money in there. I got a quality hand. Flop comes out ace high, so my heart sinks. I do have a backdoor straight draw and a flush draw. Turn is a 10, river is a 5. The player shows me king 10 suited, so I had him totally dominated, and he caught a 10 against me and takes down this $500 pot. And that was enough for me for one day. I ended up losing $600, which really isn't that bad considering that I wasted a bunch of money with those pocket kings. And I lost this last hand for $540 with king queen against king 10. So I guess it could have been worse. I played for 7 hours. I was extremely tired, very fatigued, wasn't playing my best. The game was still good, but I decided to pack it in and head on home and live to fight another day. As always, I really appreciate you watching to the end. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It really does help. And I hope to see some of you down at Hustler Casino on the 19th for our meetup game. Really looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to starting to win more, because it's been a bad start to 2022, but I think it's going to be turning around. I mean, how long can you be unlucky for? Until next time, good luck at the table, guys.
I just want to send a special message for President Putin. You better leave my homeboys over in Ukraine alone, or I'm going to come over there and kick your ass.